Good morning, everyone. I know we are in South India and we all are from different languages. We speak different languages, but we are conducting this session in English for the convenience of everyone. Firstly, welcome everyone to Book Brahma Literature Festival 2025. And this session does not need introductions, but anyway, I'm just going to give you some introductions. Beyond Booker, Tales That Travel, the future of Indian stories. This is the session, and we have Banu, Mushtaq, Deepa, Bhasthi, Kaniskha, Gupta, Moutushi, Mukherjee. And you all know who Banu and Deepa are, and Kaniskha is the literary agent, the strategist behind representing this book to the Booker, and Moutushi is the editor from Penguin, and she also is the one who acquired the book, the publisher from Penguin. So let's get into a session. We have very limited time, and Satish has been very tough telling me we are very strict on time. So let me dive into the session. Congratulations, Banu ma'am. I would like to know.
Thank you.
You have been writing, or you have been publishing since you were 27. And how did your relationship with your own stories, especially the stories in Heart Lamp, change for you after the win of the Booker International? Did it change your relationship with your own stories, or is it still the same stories that you have written in the span of the 30 years with the same emotion?
Yes. Those stories, after publication, they were not my stories. They belonged to readers. Even it was the same pattern during the Kannada publication, but after Booker and after the translation, after it got published in various other languages of the world, it has been a different story. From all over the world, I am getting messages, I am getting feedback, and sometimes I think, and why people are so much interested, so much disturbed by my stories. Yes, the word disturbed is exactly what I want to say. And there is a clear distinction. In the Kannada scenario, the stories are returning back to me with a different thing. Actually, there is one theatre activists are there, Heggodu, Nina, some people. They have recreated the Edeya Hanate or Heart Lamp story into a play, and they are enacting it throughout Karnataka, and their overwhelming response to it, and people are really greatly disturbed after witnessing the play. And and it is really very interesting to know these stories are coming in a different way from Kannada readers. One person who is residing abroad, he called me and he said, "What happened to Shaista Mahal story? Why you didn't slap on him? I am so enraged. What happened to that little girl who played the role of a mother? Is she studying, or has she stopped studying? Shall I sponsor for her education?" He asked me. I said, no, it's not my purview. You do whatever you like. There is one doctor, a physician from Bagalkot, for Heart Lamp story. He has extended my story into about 30 pages, and he has given a different turn to that story, and he has written in whatever way he wants. He has characterization, his various circumstances, and he has developed that story into another story. And he says, this should have happened. Why you leave the story and characters halfway? We are greatly disturbed. That is the major thing I am getting review from the readers, that they are greatly disturbed after reading my stories. And this is what I wanted. I wanted it should directly get into their head, get into their heart, get into their thinking, and they should think about it, They should think it is not a social issue, only it is also a personal issue which disturbs them. And all my stories, they should develop in the mind and heart of the readers. And that is what right now happening across the border and even within our country level. People are reading, discussing, thinking, and recreating the characters. That is the major thing I want to share with you.
Thank you, Banu.
Yes, sir.
And this question is for you, Deepa. Do you now read all books with a translating mind? Maybe this is good for translation. Maybe this can go far. This can reach out wider audience. Do you read books with that mindset now?
That's a great question. I try not to, because I think I make sure I read for pleasure as well. Because, I mean, it is, I think, a problem when I read other translations from the Kannada language. I can't switch off my head, and not think about how I might have done it. But I'm getting better at it. So, no, the answer is no.
So you consider yourself more a writer or a translator? A tricky question.
Both. Firstly, I'm primarily a writer. Also, I don't really believe in, labeling a translator as just a translator, because I think, times have changed mercifully. There is no, well, the translated text, I believe, becomes the third text, where the ownership of that, the new work, the third text does not belong only to the original writer or only to the translator. So there is a equal ownership that is, the book belongs to both the writer from the original language and the translator itself. So I would prefer the term writer-translator, writer-translator, when it comes to that. So yeah, I guess a bit of both. And I don't see why we need to sort of divide it into two different boxes altogether.
Sure. And I know you both, when you started the journey of translation, it's been quite some time when you took the stage on the Booker International. How has your relationship with the author and, Banu, this is also for you, how your relationship with the translator has evolved and your relationship with the book evolved together? I would like to understand that.
Right. I mean, I think, again, the practice of translation is necessarily a work of collaboration. So there is a certain professional collaboration that started when I picked up the project, and it continues. I mean, this is also a collaborative session here. Both of us are on the same stage. So I think that has always been there.
Were there huge disagreements
no.
at any stage?
Not really.
Okay.
Because it was a very hands-off sort of translation in many ways. So I had a lot of, I mean, again, this comes because there is a level of trust between the writer and the translator. So when that's there, it became a very hands-off thing where I had the freedom to translate stories the way I was thinking of doing it. Of course, Banu was always there to, in case I had some doubts, or, we discussed a lot, but we didn't fight.
And Banu, but you, like, how do you think your relationship with the translator?
My relationship with Deepa as a translator, it was very harmonious. Whatever she wanted, any explanation, she reverted to me, and we discussed, and then she would get some clarity, and she would continue her work. But I never interfered too much in her work. But with what just now Deepa said, that she's saying it from so many days, that translator is co-author, co-owner, co-creator of the work. I differ with her, because the thing is, I am also a author as well as a translator, because I have translated about 500 pages of Urdu text, which is a history, which was written by Farishta. He stayed at Bijapur, and then he has written the history of South Asia of about 7,000 pages. The manuscript has been preserved at Salarjung Museum at Hyderabad, and with the help of the District Minister of Bijapur, Mr. M.B. Patil, now the Halakatti Institution, Research Institute, they have secured about 3,500 pages of that work, and I have translated about 500 pages. It was written during Bahmani Kingdom. Can I, as Banu Mushtaq, can I claim that I am the co-author, writer of that Farishta's history? Is it possible? The co-author, co-writer, co-creator, all this, the theory, it is academic theory which has been discussed in foreign text. In Western media, it is discussed, can a translator be the co-author of a work, co-owner of a work, co-creator of a work? It is only discussed there, but it is not practical. It has not been accepted. And I tell you, as per law, if anybody claims, any translator claims that he or she is co-author of any original work, it amounts to plagiarism. And also, it amounts to misrepresentation of facts. And I tell, it is a criminal as well as civil offense in India and elsewhere, legally speaking. And I tell you one thing, a translation is not complete and absolute till it is edited by so many eminent persons. You know, there is a son-in-law of Amartya Sen who was editing an English magazine, who used to put, when there is translation, he used to put his name as edited by Mr. So-and-so. I will give you the exact reference. I just doesn't remember his name. When a translation is done, the translation is not absolute. It goes through so many phases of editing, and can those editors, they put their name, can they ascribe their name, can they claim as editors? So many people, until and unless a translation is edited, it will not get published, I tell you, because it has to suit the convenience of those people who read that translation. That's why these statements are discussed only academically in Western in Western literature, and it is not, accepted, and it is not evaluated in legally. Legally, if anybody claims co-author, co-owner, and I don't know what course, all these courses, they are punishable offenses, and it amounts even to, what they say, a defamation case also. Being a lawyer and responsibility, I am telling these things, and why I have discussed is, I have heard for so many times from Deepa about these things. There are all literary people, highly having high literary values. I want these things to be discussed, and people should know what is what. For discussion, charchegoskara, idr bagge vimarshegoskara, I want to request you people to discuss about the possibilities of all these things, and so that the literary world will get flourished by these discussions and thoughts.
Thank you, Banu. So my next question was to both the translator and editor Moutushi, following up or in connection with what Banu just talked. Many readers and publishers think translations just happen magically. Would you care to ruin that fantasy for them?
No, do publishers think translations happen magically?
Some of them, yes.
No, as an editor who works primarily in translations, it's a very long process, often longer than what regular English writing, an English narrative takes, because as an editor, I am not familiar with the original piece. So I rely on what is brought to me in translation. And it takes a lot of time to read it, to understand the nuances of what the original story was about. It takes time to understand whether it's been represented well in the translation. We do several rounds of readings of the text. Often it takes longer than 6, 7, 8 months actually to work on a translation. And it certainly does not appear magically. And we rely very heavily on the author. I go back to my author to ask questions. Is this what you meant really? Is this what the protagonist was trying to do? And I go back to my translator and I ask them why they have translated something in a certain way. Why are certain words retained in the original language? Why are certain words translated? What was the reason behind, for instance, re is a word that you have used many times in translation in this book. You know, is retained in that way. So I went back to Deepa and I looked up and I wondered why Deepa had chosen to retain that. Translations take a very long time. And it is a very difficult job, I think, to build that relationship with the editor, the translator, and the author, for all of us to come together to be honest to the text that is finally produced. In this case, there was a fourth person also who was involved, who's not with us here today. His name is Stefan. He was also involved in this. He worked on this book in the UK. And there were 4 people. Tara was the copy editor, and 5, 6 people talking all the time about this one book, what it's going to look like, how many pages is it going to be, what the title is going to be, when are we going to publish it, what is the plan for the book, what is the plan for the authors. This is a very long, nuanced conversation, different people with different thought processes coming on board. I think translations take a very long time, and you need to put in the time.
Thank you. And this question is for you, Kaniskha. What convinced you this book could work internationally? And in connection, following up, like a very similar question, what makes a translated book sellable to the world?
You know, so that's a very difficult question because there is actually no method to the madness. I got to know about, Banu's writings when Deepa won the Pen Presents grant, and I reached out to her along with the other translators translating from other languages who won the prize. And I read the collection and I felt that thematically it was very interconnected, even though the stories were disparate, that there were no characters who were recurring. And I, being an Indian, having lived in India all my life, I found a lot of things in the collection very new and very fascinating and disturbing. So I thought this is something that might, have a market overseas. And but I have to say that editors in the UK and US, they respond to a text on a case-to-case basis. They are not going to take up all the books, translations of an author if they won a prize. I mean, I experienced the same thing after Daisy won the Booker. I went to Frankfurt like a few months after Tomb of Sand won the Booker, and I got a lot of rejections for some of her translations. Not all of Gitanjali's translations have been picked up by UK, US publishers. They have to believe in the book. It's not like in India, that you have to sign up an author or a well-known author's translated work because they are well-known. You have to take them on. So, and Stefan always believed in the book and other stories, and they were also involved before Penguin and I got involved, because one of the benefits or one of the of winning that award, that grant, was that the translations were submitted to publishers, and one of them was Another Stories. So they were already familiar with the text, and then we negotiated the deal a few months later. So, I mean, it's still very difficult to sell translations, and it's not as if I've started selling like a lot of works abroad after the 2 Booker wins now. But I got a mail from Scribe Publishers in Australia. They have brought out Heartlamp in Australia, New Zealand, and the book has been reprinted multiple times. So the editor, who's based out of Australia, but she commissions translations for UK, US, and Australia, she told me that they've seen an increase in the sales for No Presents Please, another very famous translation of Jayan Kakini's stories. So and now they are interested in his new collection, translated by Tejaswani. So, I mean, it does have an impact, but I still feel that UK, US editors are very opinionated, very whimsical, and they know how they want to market the book. So, and also they also work on like big lead times, so if they acquire a book now, whether it's a book in English or a translated text, they are going to start the PR outreach well before the book is printed. The AI advanced information sheets and also the advanced copy, they are sent months in advance.
And in connection with your question, do you think there is a pattern, or do you see a pattern in the kind of translated books that succeed globally?
I mean, of course, there is interest in representation, diversity, lesser known voices. I mean, I've been told by a lot of publishers, they are interested in voices from, Kashmir, from the Northeast. They are interested in LGBTQA, I mean, I met the editor from Granta in Bombay a few months ago. He's interested in a lot of Dalit writings, So there is, I mean, they do have specific, spheres of interest. But at the end of the day, I still feel that, despite these two bookers, it's a very difficult task to sell anything abroad. I'm struggling a lot with ironically, I'm struggling a lot with Indian writing in English. I've had very little success, and that kind of worries me because I don't want to be labeled as, this agent who just focuses on or specializes on or excels in, translated fiction. But yeah, they're always open to meeting, and that happened before Daisy winning the Booker, because a lot of the credit for opening up, the markets to translated fiction should go to Vivek Shanbag, because Ghachar Ghochar was a big success, not just in India, but in the UK, US, it was translated into multiple languages, and it was also word of mouth success. So the readers were rooting for the book, and they were, recommending it to a lot of people. So there has been a lot of interest in that, and I've had big success with a very major, Tamil writer. I mean, he's here, Jaya Mohan, and I have sold some of his translations to FSG, which is like really difficult to do. And Transit is also publishing a novel of his translated by Suchitra, who's also here. So I'm very optimistic, and there's also a big support system now in terms of fellowships, grants. I don't know whether you know about Armory Prize, but the winner of the Armory Prize gets published in the US. So that's a big deal. So the last two prize winners have been represented by me, but it's a tough battle. Yeah.
Yeah. So this question.
I just want to add that. Yes, it is very difficult to get. For the longest time, there were no prizes for translations. For the longest time, it was very hard to get reviews out of translated books. For the longest time, it was very hard to get translations included into literature festivals, for instance. So all of this was a struggle that happened over years, and so it people had to sustain at it and keep going at it. And then the Booker happened, and then it changed. But even so, it's not changing fast enough, as Kaniskha is saying. Even today, there are struggles, because it is still difficult to have prizes or awards or fellowships for translations, translators. There are fewer mentoring programs for translators, for instance, to learn the art and science of translation.
My biggest worry is that we can't run an industry or a genre, on the basis of the Booker. I mean, that's like really, really hard to get. Even to enter a book for the be eligible for the Booker, you have to be published in the UK, and every year only 2 or 3 books from South Asia translated into English are published in the UK. Maybe at the most 4, because they also include poetry, they also include anthologies, which are not eligible for the Booker. And then the publisher has to believe enough in the book to enter it for the Booker. So it is, and my worry is that none of the other prizes in the UK, US, and the prizes in India have any direct impact, or long-term, positive impact on the sales of the book. So, we need some alternatives to the Booker, I mean, because everything cannot be Booker.
But Booker has given a greater impact
Oh yeah, yeah,
on
yeah,
India.
absolutely. Like I said, like there is interest in like short stories now, huge interest in short stories because of Heartland. I'm saying it's very difficult to get the Booker or even be longlisted, shortlisted for the Booker, and many of the books are not published in the UK.
And
So-
you were of the opinion that no short story has won till now Booker,
It has
and it
never
is
won.
it is very hard.
This is the first
And
one. This is
it
the first
is the
selection.
I
one.
was very pessimistic, and I was discouraging both Banu ma'am and Deepa from having any high hopes. So I'm guilty of that. Yeah.
Banu, this is for you. What made you believe, even you, Deepa, what made you believe that Heartland would win? Because I've been told by them that you were strongly believing from the beginning. So I just want to understand what was going in your mind when you believed strongly that Heartland would
At
win.
first, when I handed over the book to Deepa to translate, then I never thought that it would go to Booker. I never had any high hopes about it. I just wanted that my book would cross the barriers and it would get wide range of readers. That was only my hope and expectation at the earliest. But Deepa has done well, and it went to right hands. And Kaniskha was there. He put all his efforts, and there was, I think, Tara, who also put a lot of efforts towards it. Stefan and Tara, who are the publishers of and other stories from London, and without out of my reach, our reach, let me say, it was long listed at first, and I was not greatly surprised because I never had any, any celebration of short long list, because I never knew anything about short list or long list or some such thing. But afterwards only then people started enjoying, and when the media people started contacting
getting
me,
attention
I
then.
said it is something most important. Then I pursued it. Then it was shortlisted. And further, we were invited at London to go and face that, competition, to be there on that event. The tour to London was new to me, and while going, I lost my baggage in the transit, and I had some beautiful Mysore silk sarees purchased for the occasion. All of them were lost, and even my medicine was lost. 2 years earlier, I had undergone bypass surgery of my heart, and medicine is a must for me. I cannot skip medicine even for a single day, but my medicine was also lost. I never had clothes to change for the next day. We went there to Central London, we never knew where we will get the Indian clothes, and we purchased all Western clothes for me, their pants, shirt, coats, everything, and I was most uncomfortable with that dress. And even without medicine, and even without proper clothing, and I was in full negativity, and there was my friend Kaniskha, who used to harp every day morning, please, madam, don't have any hopes about it, because till now no short story collection has won this, contest, and only novels. There is a, thought process that novels are literally somewhat higher than the short story collection. And yours is a very good rating, I do approve, but then short story collection, if at all, it has to be one. The Booker people, the jury committee, they are to be very gutsy. I don't think they will be gutsy, and that was all his apprehension, and he transferred it to me day by day. Then I got enraged. I started quarreling with him. I said, if they don't consider my book for the contest, then why did they long-listed it? And why did they short-listed it? Why did they brought on the, there was huge publicity about it. I said, no, I don't want to agree. I don't want to approve. I don't want to fall in line with your thinking, I said. And one day I asked my people to go for sightseeing, and I was all alone at that premises. And then it was a great, tension for me. To diffuse that tension, I prayed and then I manifested, and I imagined 100 times that our book was selected for Booker, and I went on to the dais, and I was congratulated, and I received the trophy, and I held high the trophy. All this thing was in my imagination only. I imagined hundreds of times, and then I sat, and my silence, I wrote the acceptance speech with that negativity, that I am accepting your award, I am accepting Booker, and I saw the previous accepting speeches of some of the authors where they were normally, they were emotional, they thanked the Booker people, they thanked him or her, and there was a continuous process of thanksgiving. I thought, I will not do this. I am sure to get the award, I am sure to get the prize, and I am not going only to thank and complete it, because I have come from the background of social movements, and I have come from the soil of Karnataka, and I need to give some solid message when I go over stage, and I started drafting the acceptance speech, and I started writing how a short story is not negligible. Even I said, no short story is short. You might have seen my acceptance speech. It is an 8-minute speech, and it was a big hit. Millions of people saw it. I don't know how all this process happened, how I was out of frustration and out of negativity, I wanted to jump into positivity, and I wrote that speech and imagined and reimagined hundreds of times that I am going to get the prize. At the same thing happened. I got the prize. I went there and received the trophy, and I started directing my acceptance speech. I don't know, it is all out of my frustration.
No, this is wonderful. You turned the pessimism of other people into your optimistic
into
win.
the most positive energy.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And Deepa, did you, I know you reached out to Kaniskha first with the stories, if I'm not wrong.
He did.
Yes, Kaniskha reached out to you. And did you believe that this would travel across the borders?
Not really. Also, I don't know. I don't think it's, well, at least I can't speak for others, but when I write something or translate something, you don't think of it as a project that will win prizes. Or, of course it is, the International Booker is very welcome and all that, but you don't start off, typing your first translation out, thinking it's going to get published in another country, or that's not the point at all, right? So that was, I can't write for prizes. That's what, I can't write for some awards, or if it wins an award, if it's shortlisted, longlisted, whatever, that's amazing. But so when I started working on these stories, there was never a thought that it would work as a book that would go to the bookers. But glad that it did.
Great. And this question is for the three of you. How can publishers and literary bodies in India treat translators as creative equals? Because we see a gap that the translators are not valued enough. But we need translators to take our stories to the rest of the world. What kind of platform that we can provide? What are the things that we can do to translation in India?
But translators in India, if you look at the contracts with mainstream publishers, everything is split equally. So I don't see where where there is any disparity in, what the author is getting and what the translator is getting. Yes, in the UK, US, things work differently, and the publishers have to pay the translator a translation fee, which has been agreed, by, the translators, association, and that is, it may not be legally enforceable, but if they are getting paid anything less than that, it's unethical, which is why all these publishers are applying for grants all the time. And that's a very hefty fee, and it's a lot more than what publishers in India can afford to pay translators. And I mean, like I said, the problem is not the lack of funding, lack of initiative, lack of fellowships. Look at what all Ashoka Translation Center is doing. I mean, they have so many young students, aspiring translators who are now getting book deals with, publishers like Penguin Harper. The problem is that we need UK, US publishers to acquire these books for the books to be written about in the UK, US markets to be eligible for the prizes. And there is a lot of reluctance even now.
That is what she's asking, how to coordinate with UK
So
and US
I
publishers.
think my radical suggestion is that we should set up a publishing house in the UK, US, or maybe a publishing house in the UK, which is focusing
Kaniskha,
on
who has
which
to,
is
yeah, you, yes,
which
yes,
is focused on South Asian literature. And there are agencies. One of the reasons why there is so much interest in and so much interest in writings from the Far East, Japan, Korea, because there are agencies in the UK who specialize in selling translation rights of Korean writers into English, selling rights of Japanese writers. So if you see the number of translations of Japanese and Korean writers and compare it to Indian languages, which have so many languages, there is no comparison. So because they are actively looking for translations and they are pitching it to publishers. And we also have presses in the UK that focus on specific languages, like something like a Charco Press, they've had a lot of success at the Bookers, a lot of books longlisted, shortlisted for the Booker. They specialize in translations from Spanish into English. And I mean, efforts are being made, so there's a small press called Comma Press, and they are now doing a lot of anthologies, of the stories from Indian languages into English because they have a grant. And this is how Open Letters Press is being able to publish, Fehmida Riaz's book, historical fiction translated by Sana Chaudhary, or now Mehndi Khwaja's, translation of Akhtar Moinuddin, because they have support and funding. So yeah, this support has to be institutional, and I think the government should be involved too, like the state body, the national body. Because in India, it is restricted. The readership is restricted. Publishers are publishing too many books across genres. Now the JCB prize has shut down. It was championing translations. Which are the other prizes that champion translations? And also, I've also seen with prizes like JCB, despite their huge emphasis on translations and a lot of work they've done for translation, these prizes only help the book that wins the prize, and maybe perhaps the next book by the same author, translator, doer. When Khalid Javed won the prize,
yeah.
I'm sure, his next book and the third book will get picked up, and they'll get good advances, him and the translator, even if the translator is different. Same applies to Benjamin, but Benjamin is already really big because, he's published so many commercially successful books in English too. And when Good Days was published, there was no JCB. But that doesn't then spill over to other authors writing in those languages. It doesn't work like this.
So do you, Moutushi and Deepa, agree with Kaniskha's pitch that yes, there is enough infrastructure?
I'll give you an example, and sorry if I'm throwing you under the bus, Moutushi. So after Heartlamp won the Booker, I re-pitched a collection of short stories by a Kannada writer, translated by a very well-known name. I don't want to name names, and Moutushi really believes in the book. But she could not get it past sales because this is how it works. I mean, it will have an impact. People will be open to reading, but every book will be judged by its own merit, what the market potential is, what the commercial viability is. If publishers are struggling to sell books in the sci-fi space or in the LGBTQA space or any genre, they are going to be reluctant unless the author has a huge following, So this is how it works. At the end of the day, it is a business for the publishers.
So yeah,
See, one of the things that I want to add, I mean, of course, it is very different, as Kaniskha says, in the UK and the US when it comes to translations. It is very different in general in the US and the UK, all across, right from the point of submission. It's very difficult for an individual author to even submit a book to a UK editor, right? Because it has to go through an agent. That's a whole different mountain to climb. But when it comes to translations in India, one of the things that is essential from the point of view of a publisher who publishes into translations is to give the translator equal space, right from the point of view of the agreement that you sign. It's a legal agreement that binds both me to the author, but it also binds me to the translator. I am committed to the author to publish her book at a certain time, with a certain kind of attention. I am equally committed to the translator to publish that book and commit to that translator. So the legal agreement has to give space to the translator, equal space. That's the first thing that needs to be done. It is happening. That is happening now. I'm happy to say that that's happening now. The other thing is give the translator space on the book cover. You know, that's also important. Give them that, let them know that we see them. Let the reader know, let the reader see them also. There are international publications happening still where the translators are not carried on the cover. We read a lot of international fiction without knowing that it's at all translated. And the third thing that has to be done is, as publishers, we need to ensure that we are diverse in the kind of narratives that we are putting out there, so as to interest, so as to tell the UK and the US that we have diverse narratives and we have diverse stories, which we do across our languages. If you look at Malayalam, Kannada, Bengali, Kashmiri, Assamese, Gujarati, look at the kind of writing that we have. The stories are already there, you know. So if we provide and give enough emphasis and bring out more translations from other different languages from India, then it tells international publishers that we have that kind of literary heritage. Yeah.
So, you know, one thing that the global recognition for Heartlamp and Tomb of Sand has done is that now authors, you know, they reach out to me, or their family members reach out to me, or their publishers who have published their books in, you know, Tamil, Kannada, or whichever Indian language, they reach out to me. They are very open to the concept of working with agents. For the longest time, it was the translator who was acting as a scout, who was acting as an advocate, because, you know, I mean, I'm constrained by my linguistic limitations. I don't understand a word of Kannada and so many other languages from which, you know, I'm representing books. And even now, translators do that. They are the first, you know, the biggest advocate and champions. But now authors are very open to working with translators, because like 5-6 years ago, I was forced to do deals where I was only the translator's agent, and then the author was signing a contract directly with the publisher, you know. And that kind of does not incentivize me enough to take on so many projects where the author or the estate is also not bored. Now, authors are very willing to work with agents. They understand their importance. And I give the credit to translators first, translators like Deepa, and then also to the international recognition that, you know, these books have gotten. It's created that awareness amongst translators, authors, that it's important to work with professional agents.
Right, yeah. Thank you. We only have 5 minutes left, so...
And one important thing is what I observed with your discussion, Kaniskha, is there will be an eminent author and there will be a very versatile and good translator, and it will be translated into English. Even then, if these two people doesn't have a person like you as an agent, it will not click, right?
Yes, of course.
No, I mean, I'm not like advocating
Yeah,
for
because you will find out a foreign publisher, English publisher, that I and Deepa may not do, will not be able to do it. And this is a teamwork, right? This is a teamwork of an author and a translator, editors, and agent like you.
Yeah, it's a collaborative effort.
Yeah, collaboration. That is what I wanted to say. If you didn't search for some good publisher, yeah, the Heartlamp would not have clicked. That is also that the importance of an agent also I'm bringing it. That is also very important.
Yes, definitely. I don't think without your strategy and representation, we could go so far. And agency is definitely very important.
Yes.
I agree. And as we have just few minutes left, I'll try to end up with one question, which is a bit controversial, could be if you choose to answer, which is, which Indian language you think has the great scope for going international next? Each of you can choose, just pick one Indian language. Which Indian language has the scope to be sellable globally? I don't mean in commercial terms, but reaching out to global
I don't think
audience.
that's a very fair question because
That's why I said it's a
yeah,
bit controversial.
Because every single language has extraordinary stories. It's just takes a good advocate, a good translator for it to come out in English or whatever. So I don't think it's fair to pit one language against the other and say this is better or that is not as better. So I'm not sure that's it.
You're taking the trophy home for the answer. You guys have any idea of which language you think would, your favorite?
No, actually, you see in the Kerala, there are a lot of translation work is going on there. Each and every book will be translated there. And the translation work is going along with the original work there. They work hard. There will be translation of each and every work from Malayalam to English and English to Malayalam. This work is being done rigorously in Malayalam. But you can see Malayalam never, though there are so many literates and a lot of literature is there, it has not reached to global level.
That's because of the publishers, no?
Yes,
They will.
yes,
We are at the whim and mercy. I'm really surprised that a book like Moustache has not been published in the UK.
It's not a fault of the language, it's
Not
the
at
publishers.
all. So, yeah, it's the publisher.
Yeah, so we can't blame the
Goddays is
language on-
also not published. So I think, I mean, I can answer. I think
And what is the criteria that a foreign publisher would accept the Indian translation?
sometimes it's only the financials, you know. If a book is very long, then the publisher will have to pay even more money because the translation fee is calculated per word. So sometimes it's just a matter of costing. Sometimes, you know, sometimes the publisher has not had good experience, you know, or has not had success with a work they've published from South Asian language. So this happens in like publishing across the board in India, that if you take on too many you know, works of science fiction or crime writing, and then something spectacular comes your way, you end up not taking it on. So that so many extraordinary, brilliant books, you know, published in many languages of India don't have a publisher in the UK.
Yeah.
Thank you for the wonderful insights, all of you, and thank you everyone for being wonderful audience. We'll move on to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all the speakers. And that was the session presented by our partner, Andolana. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Manipal Academy of Higher Education, MAHE, presents second edition of Book Brahma Literature Festival 2025 and is proudly supported by our partners, JSW, KSDL, LCA and LCITA, Akshay Kalpa Organic, BLDE, Happiest Health, Minera, MSIL, KMF, Netkalapa Sports Foundation, Pali Institute, Ramki Foundation, Sheshadripuram Education Trust, Siri, SKME, Vesco, and Zenith Group.